Welcome to the Kenneth L Show live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. What's good? It's Monday. It's 2 p.m. You know what it is. It's the Kenneth L Show. This is where we have conversations with leaders that are shaping the future of work. That's the work we do. We do it each and every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so very much for joining us. Listen, if you're joining us in Philly, Tasker Ave, Broad Street, Market Street, Oregon Ave, Cecil B, Master, whatever, Ogons, thank you for locking in. We appreciate it. If you're on the LinkedIn feed, we appreciate you as well. Thank you so very much for locking in with the Kenneth L Johnson Show, your place for career, culture, and community. Extremely excited today for a lot of different reasons. It's Monday. Man, listen, later on in the week, the Phillies opener, Sixers on like a 2-game winning streak. The city is pretty good right now. So everything is great. I'm loving that. Shout out to all my people here at WPPM 106.5 FM Philly for doing what they do and allowing us to come here and do the things that we do. If you're joining us on the live stream, yeah, we definitely appreciate you. Thank you for checking in. And for everybody that's joining us on LinkedIn, shout out to you as well. We really appreciate it. So listen, here's the thing, right? I was thinking earlier today about just work and the relationships you make at work and the people you meet at work. And it's really interesting because this is a leadership conversation, but I've had the privilege of meeting amazing people along my work journey, whether it's Bernard Johnson from Urban Recruiters, Patricia Choi, Joyce Holly, Alternative Staffing, Spirion, Joyce, who was that? Dottie Ackenbrack, all of those people over there. The people from the New York Urban League that I work with. Shout out to Arva Rice. She will be a guest on the Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series this Wednesday. It's going to be amazing. The whole team, even over at Digital Factory, working with them. It's a new relationship, but I like the way they do things over there. So this is like these conversations that we'll start having over the coming weeks are going to be about leadership. And I think it's really important in your life to identify situations that offer great leadership for you and the work that you do, and then leverage those relationships. And by relationships, even the people that you're working with, I know mentors, sponsors, all of this stuff means so much in the world of work. And it's kind of how we got here today. I was working, I still do. I do consulting for the National Urban League, and I host a show called the Digital Career Success Series. And a couple years ago, several years ago, actually, I used to work with a young lady named Theveline Felix. We called her Thevy. She was, I think, the manager of diversity events, but more importantly, for me, she produced the Digital Career Success Series show. And I was talking to her one day, and she had left NUL, and she was working at Amex, I believe it was. And she was telling me about this amazing young lady that she had the pleasure of working with. And I was like, oh, wow, man, she sounds amazing. She said, yeah, you guys should meet because I think there might be some value in that. And these are the conversations that shape the future of work, right, for certain people. So the person she was talking about, we have her here today on the Kenneth L Johnson Show. So I'm excited about that. As again, we broadcast live on WPPM 106.5 Philly, LinkedIn, all of that good stuff. This is a continuation of our Women's History Month series. So I'm excited about that, super excited about that. But I want to introduce you guys to our guest today. Her name is Kimberly Brown. And let me just give you some background on Miss Brown real quick before she comes on. So let me pull my notes here. So Kimberly Brown, right? This is the conversation. Joining us, she's a globally recognized career and leadership strategist, keynote speaker, and best-selling author of Next Move, Best Move, Transitioning into a Career That You'll Love. She's the founder and CEO of Brown Leadership, where she helps professionals strengthen their professional brands and accelerate their leadership paths. All right, you heard it. Kimberly, please welcome to the stage. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, come on now. You knew it's time that this happened. I've been wanting to work with you for a while, and it's amazing that we had the opportunity to work together 4 weeks ago. And now we're able to bring you on for this Women's History Month series and we're kind of locked in and focusing on leadership. I know I spoke a little bit about you, but if you want to, please tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
No, I think you covered it. I just joke and I tell folks that I'm a personal and professional development junkie. My goal is to help people navigate the world of work, make more money, position themselves as leaders. And as of late, I probably think the newest thing I'm doing is really helping people become better speakers. I launched a speaker program this year because speaking is how I grew my career and it's how I grew my business. And I think more folks need to learn the art of public speaking.
So important for leaders as well, right? And people that want to improve their executive presence. I think speaking is a big piece of that because you need to be an effective communicator, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, look, so I want to get into it today. As I mentioned, this conversation continues our Women's History Month series. Just excited to have a best-selling author on the platform and somebody that does the work that you do. I think it's really important for people to know who you are. So with that being said, I want to jump into this conversation, right? So Kimberly, as we kind of think it through, and it's like a leadership moment for me, is what I call it, right? So for you, I guess I have a question, and the question actually is kind of positioned like for every leader, right? There's a defining moment in leadership, right? What is the thing in leadership that changed your career and how you lead today? Is there a defining moment for you?
I think there's so many moments. And when you sent this question over, I was thinking about one, and there's so many. But the one that I think I would double down on during my time at American Express, there was a very senior leader who I had seen at an event. And it was the type of leader where when they walk in the room, you feel like people just start to move out the way.
Okay.
People whisper about them, like you hear them because they're nervous to say hi. And when I saw this individual, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to get to know them. I have to get to know them. And I knew someone who was mentored by them. So I asked for an introduction and I got on their calendar. And I remember that when I finally got on their calendar, I believe it was like a 7 a.m. meeting in person. So pre-COVID days. So I got into the city super early. Obviously, I was there because early is not time and on time is late. So I was
Yes.
ready well before 7 a.m. at their office. And this leader, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to take the conversation or what they wanted or what they would be open to talking about. But this leader saw me differently in a way that no one else at the organization did. And it was such a powerful moment for me in learning to believe more in myself and my influence and the authority that I had and the career that I was building. It was a very hierarchy driven culture. So I think I tried to like kind of stay in my lane. And this
Okay.
person's like, no, we need you to do more. More people need to know about you. More people need to know what you're doing. And I want to support you here inside this organization and outside. I want to make sure that I'm supporting you and your goals, not just what your org goals are. Um, and it kind of changed how I led because I wanted to make sure that I saw my team members that way, like the full person and not just our org, not just our goals. I wanted to make sure, like, well, do I actually know what your goals are? Do I know what you want to do independent of this role, independent of this team? It changed how I led my team and also changed how I saw myself and ultimately helped me make some big transitions shortly after that conversation.
So if you were breaking that down, that's so much. But what's the biggest leadership lesson you learned from that moment? If you had to give one.
One leadership lesson is I would tell every leader who is managing a team, every people leader, you have to understand the true goals of your team, like of your team members. So every person who reports into you, I ask my leaders, do you know what their goals are? Personal and professional, independent of their role and independent of the organization that they're currently in. And I think that is really the mark of a good leader when you are able to understand your team and have that level of transparency with them. They're not afraid of retaliation if they say their goal is to like be in your job or be in a different area, because you really get to know people and they're inspired and motivated to work even harder when they feel like you're on their team for their goals and not just for helping the larger organization.
Sure, sure. Another question that kind of, I guess, piggybacks on that one, but what's one leadership mindset shift that changed your career trajectory?
Um, a leadership mindset shift.
You've had so much success, and I'm like, wow, when did that happen for her? Like, when did she like shift into, 100% leadership. I mean, you teach this now, you coach people on this.
Yes, and like when I think about it for myself, I feel like it's always a little bit harder because it feels like a consistent grind of getting where I am today. But I think the biggest shift came probably when I transitioned into full-time entrepreneurship, where I had to kind of shift from having the protection of an organization, protection of a larger team, a larger organization, and I had to really believe in what I wanted to do. I think the mindset shift there that I had to make was like, would I make my personal dreams smaller in order to fit the needs of an organization? Or would I bet on myself? And I think leaders have to learn how to bet on themselves. And you don't just do it one time and then it's over. You have to do it again consistently every single year. I feel like I have to take a new bet on myself. But I feel like that exercise of faith has changed how I lead. And it's probably the biggest mindset shift at that time that I had to make.
I love it. You know, we have a lot of professionals that listen to the Kenneth L. Johnson show, and I want to kind of give something to them right now. So for those listening now that want to advance in their careers, what is one move they should make in the next 12 months that you believe can improve their trajectory?
They have to build better relationships. They have and I know this is something people are like, oh my gosh, she's gonna say the age old thing, relationships. Yeah, I've got relationships. Yeah, people say they have relationships, but they don't actually have them. They don't have relationships, or what I like to say, that they don't have relationship capital. Like you know a lot of people, but you don't know the right people in the right spots to help you achieve your goals. So if you're sitting there and you look at your goals and you think about your relationship network, do you have people who can expedite your success? And if you don't, then you don't have the right relationships.
Okay.
I would tell folks that you have to really double down on finding mentors who really and truly are giving you feedback, helping you grow, and finding sponsors who can open up doors for you. Like, I mean, you can call them on the phone, send them an email, they will reply to you and open up the door as fast as humanly possible. That is truly the type of relationship that we need to kind of work on cultivating. And it takes time. It's not something, if you don't have relationships like that, I'm not saying you can get it tomorrow. It may take some time to build that relationship capital, build the trust and the respect and relationships, so someone's willing to do that for you. But I would challenge folks to spend more time really getting to know the people in their network, giving where they can, and deepening those relationships. So when they have a need or an ask or a question, that they can leverage their own network.
You know, you spoke about doubling down, and here on the Kenneth L. Johnson show, we've been talking a lot about doubling down on people. I think, you know, you made something really clear, and it's about the people you have relationships with. I think sometimes in today's world, and I speak to clients about this all the time, people are literally going to whatever their AI choice is and kind of mapping out their career moves. When I'm like, you might want to talk to somebody that's actually doing the work. Your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I think AI is great. AI is amazing, and it's clearly here to stay, at least for now, right? But I feel like you can't forget the human element. The human element, that day-to-day experience, you need that. I remember when I was getting my master's degree in counseling, and there was a big difference between professors who were lifelong professors. So they essentially went through, got their master's, got their PhD, all the things, versus professors who may have done that, but they also had a private practice, but they also were doing therapy actively and more in the community of doing it versus teaching the theory. There's a big difference. And that's kind of how I look at AI. Sure, I can create a plan for you in half a second. Not a problem. It's going to be great. Follow the steps and you'll get there. Maybe. But it's so different when you're speaking to someone who's been there, who's done that, who can give you more of the nuance. And also, this goes right back to building relationships. Having those conversations helps you deepen your relationships. AI can't give you a referral.
Okay.
It can, but a relationship can.
100%. So listen, I'm listening to you talk about, you know, kind of your process in school and things of that nature. What made you decide that you wanted to do this, like the coaching piece? How'd that come about?
It was a slow evolution. So, like, I started my career like most folks, stumbling. I was a marketing assistant. I worked in banking with high net worth clients. I worked in admissions at a college, but I got into, I'd say, coaching in my first career coaching job. So this is probably 2011 or so in higher ed. And the story I always tell is the first time I saw someone get a job as a direct result of working with me, I was hooked. Absolutely, positively hooked. And I stayed on that track for about 7 to 10 years, working in different higher ed institutions, coaching folks age 18 who don't know what to do with their life, all the way through folks in their 50s and 60s who finally want to do something that brings them joy. And as much as I was having a great time doing that work in higher education, I knew there were so many other individuals who needed help, who may not be able to go back as an alum to their career services center because there just weren't a lot of resources. Career services centers are generally under-resourced, generally may not have the budget and the team to be able to provide like mass scale assistance, especially to the alumni population that's needed. And as I was building my career and continuing to speak and get in front of larger audiences, it was almost a natural transition of people like, oh my gosh, I see you doing this work here. Could you help me? So I actually worked with a coach myself to help build out a coaching program. I wanted a framework, a method to bring people through. And that method is actually what ended up being my first book that came out in 2021. I was joking to say that book is what it would be like to work with me as a career coach, because it brings people through all of those steps, because I know that not everyone will be able to hire a coach. So I wanted to make sure I had it in a book.
So let's talk about books here. Your book, Next Move, Best Move, Transitioning into a Career You'll Love, focuses on intentional career moves, right? So what separates a strategic move from a reactive one?
I always tell folks that in our careers, we will plan for our success in so many other areas of our life. But especially as we're thinking about the millennial, Gen X, and above generations, we have this mentality from our baby boomer parents, from our traditionalist parents, that is like, keep your head down, just work, and someone will see you and be able to promote you and bring you someplace else. But that's not how the world of work works now. So I look at it as a difference between hoping someone sees you and making a conscious decision. I'm going to build the skills needed. I'm going to build the skills, the relationships, get the experience in order to be eligible for this role and then start applying. I think that's taking a much more, being an active participant in the building of your only career. One of the things I tell my clients all the time, that you and only you are responsible for the trajectory of your career, not your manager, not the company, not your parents who tried to force you to do that major when you're enrolling in college. Like, it is no one else's responsibility but yours. So it's really making a conscious decision. I really believe in making your own career roadmap, career strategy, so that you know what skills are you acquiring, what experiences do you need, what relationships do you have, and have that all anchored to milestones. And I like to do like 2-year points of like what things you need to do in that time frame so you can build a career. And I think that's being strategic versus just like, you know what, like hopefully I get promoted this year, or maybe I'll meet someone when I go to this conference, and just hoping that things work. That's how a lot of folks treat their career.
You know, that is how a lot of people treat their career. Many professionals, they do a great job, but they remain invisible, right? So what is one way that professionals can increase their visibility at work?
So you're going to feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I think that you've got to build relationships. That I'll add on the speaking part. One of the biggest leadership lessons that I had later in my career was about socializing my work. And I think a lot of professionals they want to wait until they're super senior to do these things. But I think at all phases of the game, you should be socializing your work, understanding when I do this task, when I work on this project, where does it go? Who are all the people that this work impacts? Even if you're not even responsible for that impact, you just did your small piece. And I
Yes.
think it's important to start socializing, to meet the people, meet the departments that are all impacted by your work, because it helps you build your relationships. It also has you associated with driving results and completing tasks. I think that is a slowly but sure way to start to increase your own visibility. And then I have to say speaking, because I think that in your career, speaking is one of the best ways to increase your visibility. I did it early on in my career. When you finish a project, you work on something, what conference can you present at and share that work? Even if you're presenting it internally, at your company town hall, at your larger team meeting, how can you take a few minutes to explain the work that you're doing, the impact that it has, drive results? And again, that allows you to build relationships, allows others to see you as a subject matter expert. And I think that is really important in increasing your visibility.
When I see you speak and when you've been on, you were on the show that we host for the National Urban League, I always leave thinking to myself, she is so prepared. Like you are super prepared. And that's a compliment, trust me.
Thank you.
But for you, when you speak to your clients, what is one career mistake you see high potential professionals make too often?
They don't get their reps in. I think that we live in a society where we like instant gratification, right? We talked about AI earlier. You want the AI response in 2 seconds versus waiting to schedule the call, have the meeting, have the coffee, do the how's the weather, and then get what you need. I think that people don't value having some of the smaller experiences. So when I explain it with speaking, I tell folks like, let's find the smallest possible way for you to get in front of an audience and work your way up to a keynote. We don't need to work to you being in front of hundreds of people. Can we present to 15 people,
Sure.
get some feedback and see how it goes? 15 people, 15 minutes. Then can we teach a workshop for 30? Then can we do a longer presentation? Then can we do a keynote in front of a smaller audience and then start building? And I think one of the reasons why people are like, oh my gosh, Kim, you speak so well, or you're so prepared. It's like, because I've gotten my reps in.
Okay.
I've spoken to itty bitty audiences where I was like, well, I got to put the face on and act like there's 500 people here, even though there's only 5. And 3 people are on the board of the organization. So there's really only 2 people who decided to come here today to hear this. The others are the courtesy folks. And I think it's learning to take advantage of all different sizes of opportunities and really get your reps in so you can practice, you can refine. So then you can show up and wing it. You can show up and test new things, but a lot of it takes practice.
I was listening to some of the early Les Brown stuff many years ago, and he was speaking about that, like whether it was 1 or 1,000, he was giving them all he had, right?
Always.
And that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it's hard. Like, it's hard. I had an engagement a few weeks ago, and it was for a professional organization. It was virtual, and there were only a handful of people there. But again, like the marketing it's not my fault. Some things will be big, some things will be small. Like, I just wanted to give and connect and meet more people. And as a speaker, sometimes it's hard to go in and be like, oh, all right, there's a handful of people here. But when you've gotten your reps in, you know how to change. Earlier on, I would have just gone through the presentation and been like, all right, we're just going to go through, knock it out, Q&A. I turned it more into a workshop environment. I started asking people their opinions. We started interacting with each other. And I can do that now because I'm prepared. I know what to do when there's 500, 1,000, 3,000 people. And I know what to do when there's like under 10. But that confidence came from practice.
Kimberly Brown on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5 Philly. All right, Kimberly, we're talking about being prepared. So when you think about the future of work, what leadership capabilities will matter most in the next decade?
What leadership capabilities? I do think communication. I think that the more we're leaning into the age of AI, I think people are forgetting how to communicate and really effectively work with one another and collaborate effectively. I also think we need to know how to take things to the next level of AI. I see it all the time, even with people who work with me on my team. It's, yes, I want you to leverage AI because that's the wave and you can do it faster, but how do we add the human element that makes it your special sauce, that adds your stamp on things? I think that as we move faster, we need adaptability, we need communication, and we need to know how to add the human element to AI.
The human element to AI, yes, indeed. It's so important now. I think people are leaning heavy, the people that are there. And sometimes you feel like if you're using it in some of your correspondence, right, your AI is talking to someone else's AI, and it's like, let's just have a conversation. How about that, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. And people don't think you know. When I see the response, I know you used AI because you don't talk like that.
Yes.
You have never once texted me or called me or used that word in a conversation.
Love it. I love it. So what do leaders today need to unlearn, like to succeed in the future of work? We have these habits and the world of work is changing, right? So with the advent of AI, with the scaling of the usage, what do leaders need to know moving forward? Or unlearn, should I say?
I feel like leaders need to unlearn hierarchy structures. I feel like a lot of old school, we're thinking like Fortune 100, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 with larger companies and organizations. A lot of them are being held back by having these really strong hierarchy cultures that end up stifling some of their younger talent. Do I believe that we could definitely talk about how Gen Z is mixing it up in the workplace and how some folks feel like they don't necessarily like how much they prioritize work-life balance and other things? Sure, that's a whole other interview conversation. But I do think when we're thinking about our later stage millennials, Gen Xers, our boomers, traditionalists who are in the workforce, I do think it's important that we kind of revisit what hierarchy means and where is it necessary and where is it hindering our ability to innovate and do new, exciting things.
You know, we have you here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, so it's always important for us to ask for advice. So if you could give one piece of leadership advice to the next generation of leaders, you spoke about Gen Z. What's that advice?
I would tell Gen Z, the next generation of our leaders, to really double down on learning how to communicate the old school way. Learn how to authentically be your most authentic self and build relationships from there. I think so much of that is lost, especially in these hybrid work environments, hybrid remote first environments. People feel like it's hard. And like, take the time to learn to be in person. How do you connect with others? How do you share your ideas? How do you improve your body language so what you're saying coming out your mouth aligns with like what you look like when you're interacting with someone? I think communication skills are really going to help the next generation of leaders.
I definitely believe so, and you do it so well. I appreciate your style of communication. Please, before we land the plane and log off, share with our audience how they can stay connected with you and the work that you do.
Of course, of course. So you can find me on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok. I don't even know what I'm doing on TikTok, Instagram, all the things, but that's Kimberly B Online. I have a podcast, the Your Next Move podcast with Kimberly Brown. You can go to my website, KimberlyBOnline.com, or if you're interested in consulting or learning and development curriculums and workshops for your company, brownleadership.com.
I love it. You know, I'm not going to let you off the hook. You're going to have to talk to them about this workshop. Don't you have something coming up this spring?
So I do. So we're doing our next cohort of the visibility shift. So it's a 6-month public speaking program helping you get your first high visibility speaking engagement. So stay tuned for that. If you follow on socials or if you join my newsletter, all that's on KimberlyBOnline.com. You'll see the information. We'll be doing like a 3-day training in June, and we'll be talking about the next cohort of the visibility shift.
KimberlyBOnline.com. I love it. Listen, you are simply the best. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so very much for joining us on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show and sharing your insights on leadership and career growth. It's been amazing. This is what we do each and every Monday at 2 p.m. live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. And again, her best-selling book, Next Move, Transitioning into a Career You'll Love. Kimberly Brown, thank you so very much for joining us. I really appreciate you.
Thank you again for having me.
All right. So you saw it. You saw it live. Kimberly Brown here on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. All right, listen. You know, I always like to talk about how this work allows you to meet so many people. And I also, you know, it's the future of work. I'd like to do a future of work brief before we close here in this week's future of work brief. Today's workforce is shifting from career ladders to career strategy. The professionals who will thrive in the future of work and those who treat their careers intentionally, visibility, leadership skills, strategic career moves, they'll often become more uplifted in the work, right? Because it's so much more important than tenure alone. Kimberly spoke about it, relationships, things of that nature. The future of work will reward professionals who prepare for opportunities before they appear. That's what we want you guys to do out here. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. It's been a great show. Kimberly Brown, wow, how amazing was that? I guess to close it out, I'd like to thank you. You've been listening to the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, conversations with leaders shaping the future of work. I'm Kenneth L. Johnson. Be sure to follow and subscribe for more conversations with leaders like Kimberly. I don't know if there's a lot of people like Kimberly, but leaders that are shaping the future of work. I thank you all so very much for joining us today. Philly, good looking. Everybody checked in on LinkedIn. Sophia Casey, was in the building today. Thank you so very much for joining us, sis. We got to get you on the show as well. And for everybody on the stream, shout out to East End. Appreciate y'all. See you tapping in. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5 Philly.